Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I went to the pool and listened to my book, and it was really nice. And I stayed there until there were some teenage, like high school football player type boys that were playing football right by my chair, and to the point where like it rolled up next to me and I was like, all right, I'm out of here. As soon as I have to like touch the football to give it back to them, I'm out. It's gone from relaxation to a football game. So anyway, I left, but I was there for a couple of hours and I'm listening to our book for Book of the Month, the book Educated. And it's pretty good. I'm actually enjoying it. And I'm thinking about my book review as I listen to it, because this is the first time we've done one that is not necessarily related to stroke recovery or alcoholism, but it does talk about resilience for sure, and and that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to finishing it up. I still have a long way to go, but we have 2 days, and I'm going to be listening to the book a lot over the next couple days. Otherwise, I have a super amazing idea that I just came up with for upcycling Coke cans. I drink one Coke a day, sometimes two, but I try to keep it to one. And I've been like, if I'm going to do this upcycling thing, I have got to come up with something to do with these Coke cans. So I came up with a pretty cool idea. We'll see how it goes. It's starting to come together. It's been a couple weeks that I've been playing around with some things, but I think it's come together and I have a really cool idea. So we'll see if it goes from beginning to end, this particular idea, and see if I can make a piece of artwork out of it. Okay, so today I wanted to talk about the difference between being a drunk and having the disease of alcoholism. I heard this in my reading today, and I thought, I think this is misunderstood still after all of these years. It's a name, I think, that people just call folks who are alcoholics, like, oh, he's a drunk, which pretty much to me translates to he's not worth it. Like he's not worth saving, or he's not savable. So I think that this understanding of what alcoholism is can really define your approach for effectively recovering. So I read this book, which I've mentioned to you guys several times, called Under the Influence. This is the book that I can never remember the name of it. Under the Influence, a life-saving guide to the myths and reality of alcoholism. And it's a really dry read, especially coming from somebody who does not like to, or who has never liked to read from books in front of me. But I actually got the book, I got the soft copy, and I read it. And I think I still have a couple chapters left to read, but I needed that in the beginning of my recovery. I needed to understand that I was not a drunk and that it wasn't about lack of willpower, that I did not fall into this stigma and did not deserve judgment. And that's what these names were called really create. It conjures up images of people who lack self-control, who choose to drink excessively despite knowing better. And this perception leads to a moralistic view of alcoholism, where the individual is blamed for their condition, that it's their fault that they're drunk. But this book, which has been around for quite some time now, helped me to understand myself, what it means to have the disease of alcoholism, because this perception of a person with the disease of alcoholism being a drunk and it's their fault that they're a drunk is not accurate. It's not only not accurate, but it can be harmful to the recovery of that patient. So alcoholism is not a moral failure. It is not a lack of willpower. As much as I believe that everyone around me believed that I could just stop if I was strong enough. If I had the willpower to stop, I could do it. But it's way more complex than that. And quite often, you don't understand unless you have it. It's biological, physiological, sociological, like it is so complex. Labeling someone as a drunk ignores these other factors that that there's something going on scientifically, physiologically, and really simplifies this idea that somebody's behavior is due to choice. Now, I understand that an alcoholic has the choice to pick up a drink or not. I mean, it's not like when I was an active alcoholic, I had somebody picking up the drink and pouring it down my throat. I realized that. But what I was thinking at the time, and I think it's important to share this because I've actually had, not too long ago, I had somebody who's not an alcoholic say, tell me what it's like. Tell me what is going through your mind when you're drinking, even though you know it's killing you. Well, it's very similar to smoking, even though it's killing you. Um, it's it feels like you don't have a choice. So this book, Under the Influence, makes a very good case of understanding what alcoholism is as a disease. This disease model is supported by extensive research showing that there is a genetic predisposition, there is brain chemistry, and there are environmental influences. It's not just merely a person just keeps drinking too much and acting like an idiot. It's the alcohol that they're putting into their body is affecting their body and their brain differently than it affects the body and brain of a person who does not have the disease of alcoholism. This is why if somebody who is not an alcoholic, this is why they don't understand what happens because they've never experienced it. it leads to a physical and psychological dependence. Um, and this does not, it's chemicals, it's like somebody who needs medication for depression. Um, they need medicine. There is something wrong with the chemicals in their body. There's an imbalance. Well, it's a very similar thing, and this perspective, when I read the book and was able to see that all of this is not because I'm weak, it changed everything for me. It changed it into a more promising result, my recovery. I felt like recovery was possible once I understood that there is something different about my body than the person next to me who's not an alcoholic. It shifts the blame, um, blaming myself and other people blaming me. It shifts the blame to treatment because there's something wrong with my body. I need to fix it. I need medical help. Just like other chronic diseases, alcoholism requires a comprehensive approach to getting sober, removing the drink, handling, managing the chemical imbalance that comes out of removing the alcohol. There is a medical intervention most often that's required in order to keep that person physically safe when you remove this that their body is dependent on. The cells in their body are like, well, I can't survive without that substance in my, in my body. That's what the cells are thinking. And then there's psychological support because the alcoholic has not lived life without alcoholism, or without alcohol. So the decisions that we make with alcohol, how do you make those decisions without alcohol? It requires a social adjustment, environmental adjustment, psychological adjustment. I have to start looking at my emotions, um, and and it's like dealing with first. I have to understand that when I'm crying and I'm sober, that I'm gonna stop crying eventually and everything's gonna be okay. It doesn't seem like it because I've never cried sober. If I did, it was when I was a kid. Because I started drinking when I was in middle school. So from that point on, it was like game on. I was drinking alcoholically from the very beginning. So one of the key points in Under the Influence emphasizes that alcoholism affects both the body and the mind. Physically, alcohol changes the brain's chemistry, leading to cravings and withdrawal symptoms. Mentally, it alters thought patterns and behaviors, making it difficult for the very person who's drinking and has the problem, to see that their drinking is a problem or to seek help. The very disease that needs to be stopped is blocking you from stopping it. It's like, I've said this before, it reminds me of COVID because it mutates. COVID mutates. That's what it feels like alcoholism does. It it adapts to my life, my environment, whoever I'm with, whatever job I'm at, losing a job, it will adapt to keep me drinking. That's what it wants to stay alive, just like COVID mutates to stay alive. Um, if I quit drinking for an extended period of time, um, if I were to drink again, that alcohol, that alcoholism, the disease is waiting for me to drink again. In the program, we say in meetings that the disease is outside in the parking lot doing push-ups, waiting for me, you know? Um, Recognizing all of this is truly vital to, for me, to get that compassion for myself and the willingness to want to beat it. Um, it's deceiving me. The disease itself is trying to deceive me. Um, it very much to me is a monster that lives inside of me. And as long as I get my treatment, I go to meetings, I meditate, I pray, I talk to my sponsor, I work the steps, all of this stuff that I talk about every day, doing this every day, making sure that recovery is a priority for me. As long as I do that, that monster is sleeping. Um, and this book really helped me to understand why telling someone to just stop drinking is not only ineffective, but is completely dismissive of the fact that it's a disease and the challenges, the physiological and psychological changes that need to make in order for that person to recover. Recovery involves addressing those physical and mental aspects through detox, therapy, and ongoing community and support. The book also stresses the importance of acceptance in the recovery process. So, accepting that alcoholism is a disease helped me to take the first steps towards treatment. It removed my shame. It removed some of my guilt. I had to work through the steps to really get to that point where I'm not regretting the past nor wish to shut the door on it. But that shame and guilt associated with what I thought was I'm a drunk, I'm weak, and replace the book helped me to replace that with a compassionate approach focused on healing my condition, my health condition. Treatment for alcoholism is discussed in the book as well. And it talks about medication to manage withdrawal symptoms, which I don't remember what it was called, but I also took, one thing I do remember is naltrexone, which is like an inhibitor. It keeps you from the craving. So I took that in the beginning. So taking medications, counseling, I got to be in detox for at least 5 days both times that I went, the second time being the effective one, where I was actually got the willingness and acceptance to address what was happening to my body and the underlying damage that I was doing to my body and the psychological issues that needed to be addressed. So I went to an addiction therapist for 2 years after that, every week. 2 years. That's a long time. And then support groups, going to AA and being a part of a community that was bigger than me. Once I was able to like hear other people telling my story, I had an even greater understanding that I wasn't alone, that I'm not, if I'm weak, that means every single person in this AA meeting is weak. And these people don't look weak, you know? I was just, me. And I felt like I just didn't have what it took to live this life the way that, my brother and my sister do, or my parents or my friends, that I just couldn't do it. I was weak. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't brave enough. And that wasn't the case, because if that was the case, everybody in that room was weak and not brave enough and strong enough. And I could look at those people and be like, okay, that's definitely not happening here. These people are brave, and the way that they talk, they're strong, and the things that I hear that they went through, that gave me more understanding about the disease that was going on in my body, and encouragement to keep walking the path of recovery. So this multifaceted approach is designed to address the complex nature of the disease. In my own journey, the understanding the difference between being a drunk and having the disease of alcoholism came to light when I read this book. And that's why I'm always talking about it, because it helped me to move past self-blame and embrace something new, embrace uncertainty and fear, and take a step forward anyway. And I want to make sure that I keep sharing this with others who might be struggling with similar concepts about why they drink, because the best thing that I can do today is to offer that support, and plant the seed for anyone who just happens to run across this podcast. That's why I'm doing it. It's not because I think that this is going to become some viral sensation. It's because it's going to exist on the internet, and somebody can hear it. Somebody who needs to hear it may hear it. And it's going to be there for a really long time. So somebody can run across it and maybe save their own life, you know? So this distinction between being a drunk and having the disease of alcoholism is not just semantics. It's shifting our understanding and approach to a complex and challenging recovery for a health condition that can be fatal. And by viewing alcoholism through the lens of a disease, we open the door to finding effective treatment and compassionate support from each other. So again, the book is called Under the Influence, A Life-Saving Guide to the Myths and Realities of Alcoholism. And the authors are James Milam, and it might be Milam, and Catherine Ketchum. And it's on Amazon. That's where I got it. So if you or someone you know is struggling with alcoholism, there are so many resources available to support you in your recovery. And if you're interested in understanding the disease itself, this is a great book to educate yourself a little more on what might be happening in your body. So thank you for joining me today on the Recovery Daily podcast, and I will talk to you tomorrow.